Okay. Okay, guys. So let's begin our fourth meeting in this course, the business research method. For today's session, we will discuss an important topic, which is scaling and measurement development, which is, I think, in the Cooper and Schindler book should be chapter 12. Chapter 12 or 13, I think. So let me, okay, so yeah, chapter 12 and chapter 13 of Cooper and Schindler. And so for today, group 7 have already sent us their presentation, and I hope all of you here already watch the presentation by group 7 on YouTube, which is roughly around 45 minutes. And now I will give the opportunity for the other group to respond and perhaps an ask question to group 7, and then group 7 will answer the question, and I will give a closing statement. I will then summarize the discussion and then fill out the missing part, the missing links with additional material. Then we can go to the progress report session and also the breakout session. Okay, I will now give the opportunity for the Q&A. Let me go to, okay, for group 1. Group 1, do you have question for group 7? Group 1. Okay, I'll skip to group 2 first. Group 2.
Sir, I have a question.
Okay.
So I want to ask regarding the measurement of scale. Yesterday on Twitter class, KKI recommend my group use the 5 or 7-point scale for the measurement of scale. And my question is, why is it recommend to use between both of them? Is it different when I'm using the 4 or 10 points? Also, which one is more preferable for my group to choose, apart from the consideration factors that have been mentioned in the presentation?
Okay, so you're using Likert scale, right?
Yes, that's true.
Okay, so how many points is advised in a Likert scale? Is that roughly your question?
Yes, that's my question, sir.
Okay, so group 7, have you noted down the question? Group 7?
Wait, sir. Yusha, okay. Can you actually say that?
Okay.
Because we'll put it in the chat.
Okay. Wait a second. So, Santira asked from group 2 asked a question about the number of point in a Likert scale, whether it's a 4-point Likert scale up until 10-point. So which how to select which point is best for the measurement? Okay. So how to decide on the number of points within for a Likert scale? Okay. Do you get that question, or do you want to discuss first?
I think we want to discuss it first.
Okay. Okay, I think one of you should note down the question, so I'll move on to the other group. We'll just collect the question first, and then you can discuss and also answer the question after you've collected the question. Is it okay?
Sir.
Okay. Sharin? Okay,
sir, I'm from group 1.
Okay.
So I want to ask a question. So okay. In the present for group 7, in the presentations, you guys present about the questions, categories, and structures. And okay. in this segment, you guys you guys provided 3 kinds of questions: administrative, classifications, and target questions. So in your opinion, what is the best question that is recommended to be provided when doing a research? That is my question.
Okay. Okay, group 7, please note that question down first. And then group 3. Group 3, do you have question for group 7?
No, sir.
Okay. Group 4?
Yes, I have questions, sir.
Okay.
So my first question, I'm still confused with balance or unbalance.
Okay.
So far as I know, it's not very big difference between like balance and unbalance. I'm still confused because the sample like very good average is it's likely the same with the unbalanced one. And also second, I would ask about the next slide about forced and unforced choice. So I've participated in many surveys. So and I still confused with what circumstances we need to force choice answer and unforced choice answer. So when we need to force choice rating and like which questions should this is the unforced or this is forced.
Okay. Group 7, have you note the question down?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Group 5. Group 5, do you have question from group 7?
Sorry, no, sir.
Okay. Group 6. Group 6.
Yes, sir. I just wanna ask in Group 7's opinion, do you guys think conducting a mail questionnaire is still relevant to this day?
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, Sabrina, can you repeat the question?
Do you think conducting a mail questionnaire is still relevant?
Oh, okay. Thank you.
It's a snail mail, right? Not email, snail mail.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
That's a good question, I think. Group 8. Group 8. Do you have any question for group 7? Okay. I think group 7 you can.
So far,
yes, do you have question?
So far we don't have question.
Okay. Okay, group 7, you can discuss the question first and then answer them after the discussion with your group member. Okay, I'll just pause the recording first. Do you want to screen share? You are allowed to screen share if you want to.
Okay. But I don't think this one needs screen sharing.
That's fine.
Regarding the relevancy the relevancy of snail mail in today's society, I think it's still related. It goes back to what are you researching for and how fast do you need the result. So in our opinion, snail mail will take a lot of time. So if you need a fast answer, snail mail will not be as relevant. However, for mails, we do deliver it to our homes, right? So I think it will reach the person that you are actually want to get result from. So like instead of giving to emails, well, it probably will go to junk or spam. But with snail mail, you can reach the respondent because it delivered direct to your home. So I think that's what our opinion is.
Yeah. So I'd like to add some other points that email, okay, have a limitation. If, for example, it in the big city, the urban areas, it's common to have a good internet connection. So sending an email blast to reach respondent in the big cities might be okay, but in the rural areas or in smaller cities, okay, internet connection might not be as stable as here in Jakarta or Depok. Okay, so if your survey aims to capture not only respondent in the urban areas but also in rural areas, okay, sometimes snail mail might be better to reach those with low internet connection. Although in terms of speed, yes, of course, email beats snail mail by a mile. But in terms of coverage, in Indonesia, unfortunately, the internet coverage is not as extensive as compared to like South Korea, okay, where they have relatively even and speedy internet connection. So I think that's one consideration. So if you want to
Yes.
do, yeah, okay, you can
I
continue.
think it's still yeah, it will always go back to the what topic are you researching for and what kind
Yeah.
of response are you searching for, and
Okay.
then you can choose from there.
Okay. You can continue.
Thank you.
Welcome, Shab.
Sir, hello.
Okay.
I would like to answer Sharin question, which
Yes.
actually relates to the previous question. From the three types of questionnaire, which one is the best for now, right?
Okay.
So as mentioned before, I do think that the electronic and online questionnaire is the one that's suitable for now because with the development of technology, it is becoming very easy and very fast to collect data within the internet. You can send, we all know the Google Forms right now. And as mentioned before by Kak Arya from our assessment class, he mentioned that it is the easiest way to collect data. So I think for now it is best to use electronic and online questionnaires.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Zafira.
Okay. But okay, so if that is true, so for but I'd like to add that for certain topics, yes, it will be very appropriate to use online survey. For example, if you do a study on digital marketing, uh, on let's say a survey that targets people with high technological savvy, yes, that would be appropriate. But if you target, like, for example, elderly people or perhaps small children, okay, but or people with perhaps disadvantaged background, like with people with low education, with perhaps poor people, okay, you cannot rely on online survey. So if you want to study the disadvantaged, the marginal people, okay, sometimes you cannot even use snail mail. You have to go in person. You have to approach them directly. So I've done that before, and it's really mind blowing. It really shows. Even in Jakarta, there are slums area where they definitely won't have access to PC. Perhaps they have, some of them might have smartphone, but perhaps only one in like 2 or 3 houses have smartphone, and even that is quite something. So what I want to underline is that yes, currently with technology, it's much easier for you to do online survey, but even online survey, convenient as it is, have their own limitation. So you have to consider your research question, your research purpose, and whether it fits with online survey as a methodology. If it doesn't fit, don't use online survey. So that's probably the important consideration. Okay, you may.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, you may continue.
Okay, so now I think I'll go with Ferdi's question with the balance or unbalanced and forced or unforced choice. So as I read in the book, well, in balance rating scale, as I already show also in the slides, the option will be very good, good, average, poor, and very poor.
You want to
notice
share? You want to screen share?
Okay, wait. I think I'm gonna share with the book here. Sir.
Okay.
Can you guys see?
Yes.
Yes.
So, as I mentioned again, it is very good, good, average, poor, and very poor. So the middle point is average, and then you have good and poor, and then you have very good and very poor. So it is equally distributed. But in an unbalanced rating scale, it is poor, fair, good, very good, and excellent. It only have poor in it for the bad side, while the next option would be fair, good, very good, and excellent. So if I may take an example, if I'm making a questionnaire for a restaurant, so I'm making a new dish and I want to know whether the people will like it or not. So I'll ask, how's the taste of the food? Is it, if I don't know that the consumer will like it, I'll probably use balance rating scale, which is very good, good, average, poor, and very poor. But if I knew that the consumer will like my new recipe and I know that it will has a great outcome, I'll say poor, fair, good, very good, excellent. So that's the easy way I understand it. So while on the forced or unforced choices, it's whether when we were given a question and we want to express no opinion. So like it says, an unforced choice rating scale provide participant with an opportunity to express no opinion when they are unable to make choice among alternative offered. So it may be something like in the questionnaire when when the question asks you what's your opinion on this, and you can simply skip it or just write a dash, while a forced choice rating scale has an opinion in that. Like I said, do you have any opinion with it? The option will be yes, I agree, no, I don't agree, and then no opinion. So you have to choose it if you want to share that you have opinion in it. So here it says also that many participants are clearly undecided and the scale does not allow them to express their uncertainty. So the first choice scale may result in bias.
Yeah.
I may not be entirely correct on this one, so I think if Mr. Imam could add some opinion to this.
Okay, so the balance versus unbalance is correct. So obviously in the balance rating between the extreme right and the extreme left would be equal, good, very good versus very poor, or highly agree versus highly disagree. While there's a center for a balance scale. So there's almost it will almost always be an odd pointed scale, like 5, 7, 9, 11. So basically there will be a center point and there will be an equal number of favorable versus unfavorable points. In this case, for a 5-point scale, there will be one center, then there will be 2 favorable and 2 unfavorable rating. while for an unbalanced rating scale, it's usually either the cutoff will be between so the advantage is if you know that the response will be biased, there will be some form of social desirability. For example, it will be unlikely for the respondent to answer poor, then you can choose to use only the positive side. Like for example, you use poor, fair, good, very good, excellent. So it's skewed to the left, to the favorable part. Or if you measure, if your scale is something that's usually seen as unfavorable, then you can use the balance to the right, to the left scale. So that's fine. So basically it depends on your understanding on the data and on the question. If the question is roughly balanced, then you can go with the balanced rating scale. But if you worry or you expect that there will be some form of social desirability, some form of skewness, you don't want to get a skewed data, but you know that most likely the response will be skewed, then you can choose unbalanced rating scale, so your data won't be skewed because your measurement is already accommodate to the possible skewness of the response. That's for the balance versus unbalanced. So both are okay. Both have their own argument. So no one can blame you if you choose either balanced or unbalanced, as long as you have a sound argument why you choose a balanced or unbalanced. However, the common one is the mainstream one is using balanced rather than unbalanced. But if you use unbalanced, that's fine. As for the forced versus unforced choices, yes, the mainstream, most likely if you fill out a questionnaire, it will be a forced choice. You have to choose either 1 highly disagree up to 7 highly disagree. 1 highly disagree to 7 highly agree. That's the common practice. You have to choose either 1 up until 7. There's no option like I don't know, not applicable, and so forth. It's very rare for a survey to have a choice about that's outside the scale. So like no opinion, undecided, uncertain, or neutral, that's fairly uncommon. But that's actually important. Why? Because it's likely that your respondent will not might be unsure of their question. So if they're unsure, they might choose the middle one, like 5, which is neutral. Neutral might not be the same as unsure. So it's two different thing actually, or doesn't know enough to answer the question. So the best practice is to add an option like I don't know, not applicable. Okay. The downside is that you might have to exclude respondent that answers that they don't know. Either exclude the respondent or exclude the response, because you cannot analyze the data if the respondent doesn't know. But that's actually the reality. If they don't know enough about the response, about the item being asked, probably they're not the right respondent for your study. So my suggestion is to include the undecided question. So don't make it a forced choice. But if the respondent answer that they don't know the question, they don't know the item, they cannot answer because they don't have enough information, then most likely they're not applicable. Then they should be excluded from the data. That's the best practice. But the most common one is actually just forcing them to choose either 1 to 7 from highly disagree to highly agree, and then hope that they know the answer, which is not actually good practice in my opinion. Okay. Okay. Does that answer?
One more thing.
Yes.
Yes, it's really answered my question. But one more thing. Do we exclude only the questions or the entire questions of
Okay.
the entire
Okay. It
the people
depends.
who answer?
It depends. So do we exclude the entire response of that respondent or just the points that they don't know? It depends on where do they answer they don't know. If they answer in the crucial part, the crucial bits, the like the dependent variable, the so or the basic stuff that they should know, the minimum requirement is for them to know, then I think it's better to just exclude the entire response. But if uh, it's only, for example, out of uh, 10 items, 10 items to measure one variable. So 10 things, 10 different questions measuring one variable. They answer don't know just on one. Then you can replace that with the average. That's fine. So you just use the average anyway. So it doesn't change the response. Rather than for them to choose five or the middle scale, which doesn't reflect the reality, it's better just to exclude the response on that part, on that point, and use the average for that variable. So it depends on where and how many question, how many point, how many items the respondent answer they don't know. If they answer a lot of items that way, just exclude the entire response. Does that answer your question?
Yes, very clear. Thank you, Zafir and Mr.
Okay.
Imam.
Okay. You may continue the next question.
Okay, now I'm going to answer Shantira's questions regarding the measurement of scale, the Likert scale, on how to consider which one is suitable for your research and how do you decide which one to choose. So as we know, there are a lot of different Likert scale, right? But the three most popular ones are the 4-point, the 5-point, and the 7-point. So each one of these three has their own advantages and disadvantages. So, like for example, the 4-point Likert scale is the the shortest one that is also very easy to fill up because there are only 4 points for the ones doing the questionnaire to fill in, and thus will make it very fast to complete the survey questionnaire. But they do come with several disadvantages. So by only having 4 options, they doesn't provide uh, enough option for the respondent that truly want to score in the middle point, which is only available in the odd number of scale, which are the 5-point and the 7-point. And they also by offering the lowest amount of options, they also offer less variance comparing to the odd number ones. And they also have a lower degree of measurement precision, and it also have less power to explain a point of view because normally this 4-point Likert scale um, might might have options such as like excellent, good, average, and poor, or um maybe if the questions like how often do you do something, the options are never, rarely, often, and every time. So there's no middle grounds in it. So it might be difficult for the respondent to be true to what they actually want to put in their questionnaire. So so this is where the odd number Likert scale come. So for example, in the with the 5-point Likert scale, it will be easier for the respondent to understand because now we have the midpoint, the mid ground. So, and it is actually more ideal for a larger study. And they also tend to produce better distribution of data. Because, for example, if you're going to um, do research about customer satisfaction, so you can put options ranging from very poor, poor, and with average being the middle, with being the middle point, and then we can have good and excellent. But this 5-point Likert scale also have a few cons. So, like for example, the 5-point scales cannot measure all attitudes toward an issue, and the result of this scale also might not be objective enough. So, and then this is why then we have the 7-point Likert scale. So the 7-point Likert scale will provide option for to the respondent who are truly want to score the midpoint with a broader selections of options available. So thus making it more accurate than the other Likert scales available. It will also give a much better reflection of the respondents through evaluation, and might give the best solution for the questionnaires such as those that we use for a usability evaluation. But there are also a few cons on the 7-point Likert scale. So by having that many options, the respondent might be exposed to fence sitter, which that they might not really understand what the question is, but simply just select the midpoint because there are way too many options available for them to choose. And it also may cause the respondents to take a much longer time to decide because they have 7 different options now to pick which one that is more speaks true for to themselves, or like that. And it will become a problem if, especially when you have over like more than 50 or 100 questions on your questionnaires. And it also might discourage the respondent to complete the survey when they are already tired to fill up all those different options from the previous questions. So they might not be doing it but they might not be doing it very truthfully because they just want to get things to get things over. So it might also lead to making the uh, answers as not as genuine as we wanted to. So at the end of the day, these 3 different Likert scale have their own ups and downs, their own pros and cons. So, but it depends on how to choose the right one for your research. It depends on the amount of data that you want to receive or the scale of the research that you're doing, and the variance of options that you want to give to the respondent. I think that's my answer, sir.
Okay, thank you. So that's completely correct. So the 4 points and the 5-point and the 7-point, they have pros and cons. However, I'd like to add that personally, I always recommend my students to use the 7-point Likert scale. Why? Because first, originally, uh, all Likert scale are odd scale. So the 4-point Likert scale are actually an adaptation. So the from the original Likert scale. Why? Because I think one person argued that if there's a middle ground, the midpoint, then a lot of the undecided people will choose the middle one, the 5 one, or the 3 or I think if it's 5 Likert scale is scale number 3, and then it will have like a central tendency, and that makes it a forced choice, okay, which is uh, uh, on the other hand, if it's only 4 points and there's no middle one, then a lot of people needs to be that's actually in the middle or neutral, then we'll have to choose either skewed toward unfavorable or toward favorable, which is also another forced choice. So the best practice here to use as wide range as possible. Why? Because we don't want a constant. What is a constant? It's if the response of if your response is perhaps more than 90% of them gathers in just 1 or 2 points, and that happens. So, for example, one of my students, he did a study on employee satisfaction, and unfortunately, he's an employee also. He works in the human resource department of that company, and he surveys the company on employee satisfaction. And because obviously there's a high degree of social desirability, like 90% of the respondent answer either 4 or 5 out of a 5-point Likert scale. So even a 5-point Likert scale, because of the nature of the question, that's you don't want to answer I'm not satisfied with my job when the HR people are actually asking the question. So obviously a 90% of his response for employee satisfaction is in 5, 4, and 5. So he cannot use linear regression. So he had to use a logistic regression to differentiate between the 5 and the 4s, between one difference, because he surveyed like more than 100 employees and 90% answered either 5 or 4 consistently for the employee satisfaction. So it creates a constant. If you analyze a constant variable, it will definitely result in a non-significant result, because the independent variable is a variable has a high variance, while the dependent variable has very low variance. 90% of the response is between 4 or 5. Then you get a non-significant. So that's why at the end he had to use non-parametric statistic, because the dependent variable does not meet the normal distribution, the assumption for parametric statistics. So that's why after that case, I always recommend my student to use 7-point Likert scale, because even a 5-point Likert scale, if the question is loaded with high social desirability, or perhaps the questioner, the surveyor is like part of the HR and so forth, it makes it difficult for the respondent to answer truthfully. So at least if it's a 7-point scale, the variance will be either 5, 6, 7. So if they're skewed toward favorable, at least it will spread between slightly agree to highly agree. So there's more spread compared to a 5 or a 4-point Likert scale. Okay. Is there any other question that you want that still need to be answered? Group 7, have you answered all the question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so it's already 11:47. So wait a second. I'll just share screen. Okay, I'll add a couple more material. So I already have the material here. You can download in a mass. You can browse it yourself. I have a couple of things that I'd like to add. Okay, this is an important part. Don't forget, you need to be able to differentiate between nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio scale. Okay, this is very important, because what is your statistic depend on the level of measurement. Some statistics require interval and ratio, while non-parametric statistic can analyze nominal and ordinal. So this is very important. Be sure to understand the difference between nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. Okay, I'll just skip this. Okay. Okay, so for measurement, you have to have validity and reliability. There's three parts of validity. The content validity, which means that what you want to measure already, so your measurement already measure every aspect of the object or the construct that you want to measure. So for example, if you want to measure employee satisfaction, then you have covered the entire aspect of the employee satisfaction. So you don't miss one aspect. For example, you only ask about the financial aspect or the non-financial aspect, but you measure both the financial and the non-financial aspect of employee satisfaction. That's the example of content validity. As for a construct validity, it means that your measurement fits the statistical criteria of a construct validity, like, for example, factor analysis with loading factors and so forth. So for the construct validity, usually you have to test with factor analysis, and then you have to show that your construct is convergent, which means that items that measure the same thing needs to be correlated, while it's also discriminant, which means that items that measures different thing does not correlate. So it's like if item 1 and item 2 measures the same variable, it should correlate. But if item 1 and item 2 measures different variable, it should not correlate. So that's roughly the construct validity, while the criterion validity depends on the predictive ability. So can the measurement used to predict or to explain a second variable that theoretically should be able to be correlated with the measurement? So if we are using if you measure employee satisfaction, and theoretically employee satisfaction should predict employee turnover intention, and then your data, your measurement should also be able to correlate or explain employee turnover intention. That's for validity. And also okay, I'll skip this. It's also reliability. This is also another part. We have stability or time, which means it's like a test retest reliability. If I measure your IQ today and next week, it should roughly be the same. There should not be a significant difference. That means it's temporally stable. But if it's not, if for example, if your IQ today and tomorrow the measurement is different, then the measurement is not reliable. There's also equivalence. If we have two measurement, or for example, the older measurement and the newer measurement tested at the same time, it should be highly correlated. So that's equivalence. While the internal consistency is within one part of the measurement. If you split the measurement in half, one half of the measurement should correlate strongly with the other half. So that's internal consistency. Wait a second. And this is also an important part. Practicality, which is economy, the cost, and also convenience, the ease of use, and also the interpretability. Okay, some measures are very complicated to use. Okay, so it's okay. Some measures are quite straightforward, like the Likert scale. It's very straightforward. You can easily easily analyze them, easily interpret them. So it's used very often, but especially in psychology, there are lots of different scales that you can use, but not all of them are easy to use. For example, I know that there's like a Ross chart. So, for example, you are given an ink blot, and then your response is being measured. So there's a measurement that there's an instrument that measures your response to the ink blot. For example, the length of time before you answer the question and so forth. So it's quite complicated. So it needs to be interpreted by a specialized psychologist. So not everyone can interpret the data. So only certified psychologists can interpret the measurement. So that's the practicality. As for the scales, okay, basically you most likely you want to measure something that is latent, that's something that is not directly observable through indicators that's observable. So basically in measurement, for example, motivation, attitudes, you cannot directly observe attitude. You cannot directly observe motivation. You cannot directly observe loyalty, but you can observe the indicators of a loyal customer. You can observe the indicators of a satisfied employee. For example, the employee arrive on time, they go home on time, they say good things to their friends about their work. Those are indicators of satisfied employees. Similarly, for example, like attitude, in this case, there are three different indicators: the cognitive indicators, the affective indicators, the conative indicators. So basically in measurement, you have to map the different indicators and then break down into dimension and subdimension. So that's how you measure something. And I'd like to skip this. The most commonly used scale for questionnaire is the Likert scale, but that Likert scale is the most commonly used, but it is not the best. I'd like to highlight that Likert scale have their own pros and cons. Their main pros are that Likert scale is very easy to use. Everyone can use Likert scale. Everyone can interpret Likert scale. It's easy to understand, easy to use. You don't need to be you can simply use between add statements and then put the usual disagree versus agree versus disagree range of questions. That's the Likert scale. But there's also other type of let's just skip this, other type of measurement. For example, semantic differential. Okay, in my opinion, semantic differential is a better scale compared to the Likert scale. Why? Because first of all, you don't only get a agree and disagree. In Likert scale, you only have the response will be either you agree or disagree with the statement. While in semantic differential, you have opposite. And sometimes a different combination of word can mean differently. So for example, the opposite of happy can be sad, can be I don't know, disappointed. Okay, so by changing the opposite, you change the item completely. So having the opposites and not simply set happy and unhappy. That's happy and not happy. That's very simplistic. But you need to add something that's opposite without adding the un or the not happy. So like so for example in Indonesian, like bosan. What is the opposite of bosan? Tertarik, senang, bahagia, or what's the opposite of tidak sabar dan seterusnya. All of that, okay, change the item. And in semantic differential, it's more interval-like than Likert scale. Okay, so for example, in the Likert scale, the difference between strongly disagree and disagree might not be the same with neither disagree with agree. The distance. Okay, so is the difference in opinion between people who choose strongly disagree and people who choose disagree equal to the difference in opinion of people who choose agree versus those who choose strongly agree? Obviously, the answer is no. That's why Likert scale is not actually considered interval scale, it's considered ordinal scale. Strongly disagree is lower than disagree, disagree is lower than neither disagree nor disagree, but the distance is not the same. On the other hand, semantic differential, okay, this scale have much more interval-like option. So statistically, it's better to use semantic differential compared to Likert scale. The cons is that it's quite difficult. It's much more difficult to develop a semantic differential scale compared to a Likert scale. It's not simply disagree versus agree, but it's antonyms. You have to choose the opposite words, okay, and how you choose the opposite word define your question. So it's much more. So the standard for semantic differential is the wording of the semantic differential is much higher than in a Likert scale. Okay, so this is another types of semantic differential: high quality, low quality, numerous, few, unknown, well known, dependable, undependable. But usually it's best to use like nearby and distant is better than nearby and not nearby. That's not a good semantic differentials. So you choose distant rather than not nearby. So difficult, don't use not difficult, but difficult versus easy. That's a better way of framing the semantic differential. Okay, this is also semantic differential. Okay, I'd like to add that semantic differential is best used for emotion. If you want to capture emotion, okay, there's like I forgot, like 6 or 8 different opposing type of emotion, like happy, unhappy, happy and sad, excited, bored, and so forth. So you can use the emotion as different scale of emotion as the semantic differential. Okay. Important, I think. Okay, and this is also another scale that is similar to Likert scale, but the difference here is that it's balanced without the middle ground. So either you are strongly agree, or strongly disagree. So and for staple scales, you can use 10 points. 5 points favorable, 5 points unfavorable, and then you can, so the response will be between -5 to +5, and then you can regress this to the dependent variable. So it's relatively easy and relatively interval in the distance between the scale. So if you want to go with interval scale, it's better to use staple scale compared to Likert scale. That's my opinion. But yes, the easiest one would be the Likert scale. Okay, I think it's shown that there are lots of different type of lots of different type of scales. So and both each scale have their own pros and cons, their own purposes. So you have to match, you have to fit your research question, your variable, and your scale. So, and one closing statement that I'd like to add about measurement development is that for undergraduate student, and please take this very seriously. For undergraduate student, do not attempt to develop your own questionnaire. Why? That is not your level. To develop your own questionnaire, your own survey from scratch, sorry, your own item from scratch, you need to do a lot of tests. So the best practice and the easiest way is for you to use existing measurement. So where to find measurement? There are two sources. One is from journal article, and sometimes if you cannot find the measurement in the journal articles, you can simply email the author, ask them to send you the questionnaire. Okay, the second source is from item banks. So I think for marketing especially, there's a handbook of marketing scale, which is a list of the items used in marketing. So that's very important. So if you are from marketing, if you want to develop a questionnaire, if you cannot find the items in the journals, okay, I would strongly suggest you to try look in the handbook of marketing scale to use existing scale rather than developing your own measurement scale, which needs a lot of testing, and you simply cannot defend it on the exam. So that's my suggestion for you. Do not attempt to develop your own questionnaire unless later on, perhaps in your master's degree or your doctoral degree, then you can attempt to develop your own questionnaire. I think that is all for the material. I will move on to the second part, which is the presentation of progress on lit review. Please, for group 3 and group 5, you may present your progress.
Sir.
Okay.
Sir, can I have a question?
Sure.
I want to ask, for example, my group used the odd scale, like for example 1 to 5 or 1 to 7.
Okay.
From the questionnaire we get the result that many people tend to choose the neutral or either agree or disagree option.
Okay.
How we should make the analysis and come out with a conclusion.
Okay, so if a lot of people choose the middle ground, the midpoint, okay, that is fine. That is fine as long as the distribution is still relatively normal. So if your data is actually balanced, then that's actually a good thing. Because if it's skewed either to the left or to the right, for example, a lot of your respondents answer favorably or unfavorably, that means that your data is skewed. It might not be a normal score. So my suggestion is just report the descriptive statistic. So I think in the later half of this course, after midterm, there will be much more statistical content. You have to report on the mean, the median, the mode. Okay, for asymmetrical data, the mean will be equal with the median. But if the data is not symmetrical, it's skewed to the left or to the right, then there will be a significant difference between the mean and the median. So, and that's problematic because certain statistic will require symmetrical data. So if you want to do a Pearson correlation or a linear regression, so the dependent variable should be relatively normally distributed. Relatively because it's not absolute. There are different indicators for a normal distribution. So, but mainly as long as the data distribution is relatively symmetrical. So there's, like, for example, majority of the response is in the middle, some of them in favorable and unfavorable. That's okay. The problem is actually when like 80% of your respondent answer 5 or 4, so it's skewed to the right. Then it makes it difficult for you to use the data to for parametric statistic. Okay, so that's
okay.
So your case is actually fine. There's no problem with that.
Okay, sir.
Okay, okay. For group 7 and group 5, do you want to screen share?
Yes, sir. For group 3.
Okay, group 3, you may start screen share.
Can you see the screen share, sir?
Okay.
So, can we start now, sir?
Okay. Yeah, I can see your survey. Okay, your questionnaire.
Okay,
This is on Google Drive, right? The Google Form, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Our group.
Okay. One suggestion is that don't make the title too straightforward. So having the title like this, dampak microinfluencer terhadap engagement suatu brand, okay, it's I think okay, that's fine. But sometimes showing the title too explicitly might make the response lead the response. So you can make it a bit blender, a bit broad. So you don't want to lead the response to one direction. But that's fine. That's my suggestion.
Okay, noted, sir.
Okay. And for questionnaire, usually you put the demographic and the identity part at the end, like name, gender. Okay, can you scroll down, please?
Yes, sir.
Okay, name, gender, age, status. This should be at the back. Okay, so for all students, when you are developing a questionnaire, okay, start with the introduction, then with the screening question. So if you have screening question like, do you have you had pets? Have you had cats, for example? If you want to study pet owners, so those screening questions should be up front. Then you move on to the body of your measurement, like the variables. Then the end, you go to the demography, the gender, the age, the social economic status, like the income, the expenditure, monthly expenditure, names. Those are at the end. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Okay. Social media. Okay. Okay. Is this a screening question? Social media yang Anda pakai?
This more like introduction, sir.
Okay, that's fine. Okay.
And then for the part 2 and 3, the beginning of the screening question, sir.
Okay. Okay, can you go up? Okay, this question is Okay, this is not part of the measurement, right? This is just additional analysis.
Actually, this is the part of measurement, sir, for the perceived influence.
Oh, what? Okay, apakah Anda pernah membeli this as? Is this asking about behavior?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So for behavior, okay, apakah Anda pernah membeli? The answer should be pernah, tidak pernah, or lupa, forget. I forgot. Okay, so but mungkin and sering it's more of intensity or frequency. Seberapa sering Anda membeli produk? Okay, the answer might be sering, kadang-kadang. So don't mix between the. Okay, so I strongly suggest you to use existing measure, okay, for purchase behavior. I'm sure there's a lot of questionnaire that ask purchase behavior. Apakah Anda pernah membeli, misalnya pernah, tidak pernah, atau seberapa sering Anda membeli produk yang ditawarkan. Then you can use dari sering, kadang-kadang, kemudian jarang, or either way use the scale that's already exists. So don't make your own question, because like this, I don't think you can analyze this as a scale. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, move on to the next one. Okay, I think it's better to use Likert scale for this one, or for example, saya menghargai saya menghargai saat influencer saya mempromosikan brand tertentu. Strongly disagree to strongly agree, for example. I think you can choose. I think you can change this in menghargai influencer into Likert scale. And also personal connection should also be Likert scale. I think that's better. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, move on to the next question. Okay, this is okay. Okay, move on. Okay, I think basically you have to go back to the measurement development and just go to the original scale, find the scale, because intention is not purchase. Intention means I'm planning to purchase. Future purchase. Jadi, okay, so intention to purchase recommended brands means that I have the intention in the future to purchase the brand recommended by the influencer that I follow. Okay. Okay, so I think you need to change the question and use existing measure rather than developing your own scale and measurement. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, move on. Okay.
Actually, it's enough.
Yeah. Okay, I think you can. Okay, is this all? Is this all of your questionnaire?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think you need to add, for example, influencer. Have you asked which influencer that the respondent follow?
Oh yes, sir.
Okay, so for the demography, you are allowed to ask open-ended question. Okay, just to add, for example, who, because there are lots of influencer, there are lots of micro influencer, and it's quite interesting to know the names of those micro influencer, and you can categorize them. Okay, if you already have specific names, you can add them as option. So you can add option like 5 micro influencer, and then but you need to add another option that's lainnya and then an open text, and you can and you can answer, write down the name of that micro influencer. Is that okay? Is that feasible?
Yes, sir. It is
Okay.
feasible, sir.
Okay. Do you have question that you like to ask about the measurement? Okay.
Is it okay, sir, for using bahasa?
That's fine.
For the questionnaire.
You can use bahasa for the questionnaire because if you use English, probably a lot of people won't understand or won't fill out because so language matters. Okay, so use bahasa. I don't mind, but for the report you have to use English for the report. So use bahasa for questionnaire and use English for the report. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Thank you for group 3. The next one, group 5. Group 5, right? Group 5. Yep. Group 5.
Yes, hold on, sir.
Okay. Can you screen share your questionnaire? Oh, you don't have to screen share the. Okay, you can screen share the Excel. It's fine.
Yeah, for now we're just doing from Excel,
okay.
and then we're gonna import all of this questions into the G forms.
Okay.
So like our research topic is the impact of brand image for customer purchase, Apple's brand loyalty, and public relations.
Okay.
So. So those are the variables: brand image, customer loyalty, public relations, and perception.
Okay, so you have 4 variables. Okay.
Yes, only 4. Yeah. So basically, can you go to the questionnaires? So we have 19 questions, and we're gonna use Likerts.
Okay.
For the questionnaires.
Okay.
From strongly disagree to strongly agree.
Okay.
And then right now it's gonna be in English, but later on we're gonna translate it back to Indonesian.
Okay, that's fine.
Can have more population.
Okay. One other thing for all students. Okay, if there are reverse question, I strongly suggest you to unreverse the question. Okay, make your question one unidirectional. If you have reverse question, if you have bidirectional question, it will confuse the respondent. So always make sure that your question is in one direction. So if you have reverse question, unreverse the question. Okay.
So in terms of the question topic, there are going to be 4 topics from public relation perception, as you can see.
So which item measure public relation? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 question measures public relation perception. Okay. Is this?
Let's scroll down.
Okay. Customer loyalty, brand image. Okay. Okay. I feel that the motivation. Okay. Okay. I think this pleasant. Okay. I think this is fine. Insurance product. So you're doing insurance product?
No, we're not. We're doing what's it called? Apple products.
Okay, Apple products. So you have to change.
Electrical products.
Okay,
Yeah, we're going to change a little bit more.
Don't forget to change the question and add the screening question first, and then these questions, the variable question, and then add the demographics question. So ask, for example, their monthly expenditure on or their how often they change phones, for example, because some people change phones every year, some change for every 2 years, some change phones every month. Okay, those you have to also differentiate between the demography. Okay.
Yes. Oh, and well, we didn't have like the specific details right now.
Okay.
But if you scroll down a little bit more.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna have like 19 questions, so we're gonna have like around 95 people, and
okay, one question. Why academic status?
Oh, as in like, what's your last pendidikan, I guess.
Okay, my suggestion is to ask demographic question. Only ask demographic question that's relevant to your study. For example, status means marital status or relationship status, because that's, for example, I don't know if relationship status is relevant to your data, your studies. Do they have are they single or not single? Might not be relevant. Okay,
No,
so
I mean like what are they right now? I mean like as a student or a worker, or
I see.
That's what I mean. I mean like
okay.
I just can't really phrase the word correctly.
Okay, that's fine. So, but make sure that the demographic question fits the purpose of your study. So, for example, I think you can ask whether this is their first phone or their second phone, so or their is so for example, Apple user usually have an ecosystem of Apple, not only Apple iPhone, not only, but also, for example, a MacBook, and also the what's the earphone, the AirPod, and so forth. So it's so you can also ask other product category within the Apple product, just to get so it's not only iPhones, it's also a range of Apple product. You can also ask those questions. Okay. Do you have other question? Do you have question that you'd like to ask me about your questionnaire? I think the main variable is okay. The items are okay, but you have to organize the items into a questionnaire with introduction and also screening question and the items, and then demographics at the end. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much for group 5. Now we're going to move on to the usual part, which is the breakout session. We'll have 30 minutes. So wait a second. So for the other group, please discuss the final research model. For those of you who have not finalized the research model, identify the respondent sampling, the screening question, and also the measurement. And don't develop your own questionnaire, but instead, please use existing questionnaire from the survey or from the marketing handbook of scales. Okay, I'll now open the breakout room. Please join the breakout room and also discuss in the breakout room. Okay. Okay. Guys, you can join the breakout room.
Hello, sir.
Hello,
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. We have one more group, sir, but not yet here, sir. One more person in our group.
Okay. Wait a second. So I'll add that person. Wait a second. Who's your member?
Ahmad Farhan.
He's not. He's not. He's not in the. Oh, wait a second. I'll. He's not here. Can you contact him or?
Yeah, he's not present.
Not present. So he's not present.
Oh, he's not present. Oh.
Okay.
Okay. So that's fine.
I thought he was.
Fine. If he's present, I'll add him to group 8. Meanwhile, just discuss the measurement for now. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. If do you have question specifically about the questionnaire?
So far, we'll be using the questionnaire that is taken from the other journal, sir.
Okay, that's good. So you can consult. I'll move to the other room first, but then if you have question, just call me and I'll attend. Okay.
All right, sir.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How's the progress? Do you have already got the final research question?
I'm still
Yes.
making it, sir, but I'm still not sure. So I'm trying to rephrase of yang what I wrote biar nggak actually make a mistake, sir.
Okay. So okay, at least finalize the research question in this meeting, and then try for next week. Hopefully, you'll develop the questionnaire. Okay. So if you have question, just call me and I'll come here. I'll move on to the other group first. Okay.
Sir, sorry, I have a question.
Sure.
For our also in the process of making the questionnaire right now.
Yeah.
If we use mixed language, is it okay?
Mixed language, bilingual or informal language?
So in general, it uses Indonesian, but for some terms like online marketplace, that's in English. So is it okay?
So when you're developing or adapting a questionnaire, it's very important to understand the characteristic of your audience. If your audience might not understand the language, then you can simplify the language. You can even use informal language if that's better. So you don't have to use formal language. You don't have to use jargons or marketing terms. Okay, but make it as easy as possible to be understood by your respondent. So think from the point of view of your respondent. Make it as simple as possible for them.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
No worries.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
I'll move to the other room.
Okay, sir.
Hello. Okay, you're developing the questionnaire.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have any questions specifically about the questionnaire? I think this is good. This is good image at the front. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay. Do you have a screening question?
We haven't put it yet, but the screening is generation Z.
Okay. So
and UE students, sir.
Okay. How about shopping at Tokopedia? Have our do you specifically limit those who have made an online purchase on Tokopedia, or at least have has an app, Tokopedia app on their smartphone? Or perhaps
Yes, that also, sir. So the ones who have made a purchase.
Yeah. My suggestion is don't limit to UE student only, because you cannot sufficiently explain why you only focus on UE student. Tokopedia does not have any agreement with UE. So, for example, UE student have a discount when shopping at Tokopedia. There's no such agreement. So you don't need to limit your respondent only to UI student. My suggestion is to be open, not only UI student, but measure the characteristic. For example, people who have made at least one purchase at Tokopedia in the last like 6 months, for example. I'm sure that's quite easy, but you don't want, for example, UI student, but they never shop at Tokopedia, and so they cannot answer perhaps your question. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Do you have,
How
sure?
many participants should we?
Okay, the rule of thumb is 5 times the number of items. If you have 20 items, then you need 100. So my suggestion is to keep it short. Perhaps the rule of thumb is between 3 to 5 items per variable. Okay, between three is the minimum, but I think the best scenario is to have at least 5 items per variable. For example, if you have 3 variables, then you have 15 items, then you need 75 respondents. But if you have 5 variables, then you will have like 25, roughly 15 to 25 items. If you have 25 items, then you need 125 respondents. But in online survey, getting 100 respondents nowadays with social media is quite easy, as long as you so the screening question must not be too hard. So if it's too hard, then it will be difficult for you to get a lot of respondents. But if it's open, for example, if you limit only to UI student, then it gets probably it might even be harder to get the respondent rather than if you open and you post it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Okay, it will be much. It will have a broader exposure and more respondent, and not only from UI student. Okay. Okay. If you have, do you have other question? If not, I'll move on to the yes.
If we have like 3, the number of respondent is depending on the number of our
Item. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, okay. So if we have like 3 independent variable, we have to give the questionnaire to 75.
Yeah. So if you have 3 variable, then you need 15 items, then you need 75 respondent.
Okay.
Okay, so it depends also on your model. So your research model influences your number of items. The number of item influences the number of sample you need to collect. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, I'll move on to the next group.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Hello, guys.
Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
Do you have any question that you'd like to ask about the measurement?
I think we're just curious about how many questions that should we put in the questionnaire?
Okay, it depends on the number of variables in your model. Okay, the rule of thumb is to have at least 3 items per variable. At least. The recommended one is 5 items. So 5 items per variable. If you have, for example, if your model have 4 variables, then it's 20 items, which means it's 100 respondents, because one item needs 5 respondents. So it connects one and another. If you have complex model with lots of variable, then you will have lots of item. If you have lots of item, you will need a lot of respondent.
Okay.
Okay. So how many variable in your model?
How many live?
We actually just found the main reference yesterday, and
Okay.
we just decided our topic.
Okay,
So
that's fine.
I think we're going to make the questionnaire today and also the chapter 1. So
okay.
Yeah.
For that reference journal, how many variable in that reference journal?
Okay. Sorry. Let me share my screen.
Okay.
Here.
Okay.
We've decided to bring the cyberloafing issues, sir, because I think it should, especially in this period.
Yeah, yeah. Work from home, cyberloafing.
From home.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then no one's watching you. Your boss.
Yeah. Okay, this is good. So you have 4 variables, right? So if you have 4 variables, then you can get roughly 20 items. So 1 for each, 5 for each variables. Then you can get 100 respondent minimum. But you can have more. I think that's quite reasonable for this group assignment. In the original survey, it's 375, but I think you can make do with only 100 respondents.
Oh, 100 respondents is enough.
Yeah.
So you said earlier about we can make our own
yeah. Don't make your own question. Don't make your own items, but use from the existing one. For example, cyberloafing, social cyberloafing. Is there any items in this question in this journal article? Do they provide the items? Okay, wait a second. Okay, this is mental health. We assess mental health using the 5-item scale developed. This is the measurement.
Yeah.
Positive, emotionally stable, satisfied with life. So you can use this to develop the 5-item scale for mental health. For fatigue, okay, 4-item scale, okay, it's reasonable. You can use this. You can go to the original article if you cannot find. So if they don't provide the articles, the measurement here in this journal, at least they provided the link to the article, so you can go to Park and Sprang 2015 to get the questionnaire on fatigue.
Okay.
Then you go upwards. Not again. Okay, social cyberloafing, 7-item scale, adapted from Andreasen. Okay, so this is for Weibo. Okay, you can use this. You can if it's unclear, you can go to the Andreasen paper 2014. But basically, I think all of the measurement is provided in this journal article, so you can simply adapt it, the item to fit with the context, your context. Okay. So there should be no problem. They use 5-point Likert scale. You can use 7-point. That's fine, but you can use you can adopt the Likert scale. That's fine.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Okay, I'll move on to the other breakout room. If you have questions, just raise your hand. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir.
No worries. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Okay.
Hello,
How's the progress? Do you have any question that you'd like to ask?
Oh, sir, ini can I ask in bahasa, sir?
Sure.
Kan kuesionernya nanti mau pakai bahasa Indonesia, terus di pertanyaan kuesioner kita itu ada yang kayak to what extent do you feel bla 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 gitu. Nah, itu kira-kira pilihannya apa ya, sir, kalau di Indonesia?
Okay, to what extent? Okay, I think you can reformulate the question into a Likert scale. So it's easier for you to use it as a Likert scale. So for example, to what extent do you believe? To what extent do you like this product? To what extent do you like this product? You can change into I really like this product, agree, disagree. So that's okay.
Okay.
So I think for simplicity, just use a statement, make it a statement, and then you ask the questionnaire, the respondent, whether they agree or disagree with the statement. So you can use the statement from the questionnaire. So, but it will be the same item, but different way of asking the question. Okay, that's fine. Because to what extent the I think the scale will be unbalanced. So for example, to what extent none at all until very much so. So it's so sangat, jadi tidak sama sekali hingga apa benar-benar suka atau benar-benar setuju dan seterusnya. Okay, so I think it's better to make it a Likert scale, to make it easier, simplified by changing the way you ask the question, but keeping the point, keeping the essence of the question. Do you get what I'm saying? Is it understandable?
I do.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Do you have any other questions?
For the respondents,
okay.
I mean, for the questions, we have 29 questions, right?
Okay.
So our minimal respondents itu harus minimal 145 berarti.
That's right.
So 29 times
5 times the number of items. How many variable do you have?
We have 4.
4 variable. Only
Yes.
4 variable, but 45 items. Wow, I think.
Yeah, because 2 of the variables consist of 10 questions, sir.
Ah, I see.
Yes.
Okay, that's okay. So usually the variable consists of like 5 items per variable usually, but for complex variable it can be more than 5. So, but if your questionnaire have 45 items, then you will need to get how many 35 items? How many items?
39.
35. 39?
Yes.
39 or
29.
29?
Yes, 29, sir.
Okay, so it's 5 times the number of item, so it's 145. Okay, 29. Yeah, that's right. Okay. It is still feasible for the group assignment.
Okay. Sir, I would like to ask if there are questions that we feel like not really relevant to maybe Indonesians gitu.
Yeah.
Can we like adjust it?
Yes. Yes, you can adjust questions that are not relevant. So you adapt the question. So you keep the essence, but you change the way the question is being asked. So for example, if that point is not particularly relevant, how to make it relevant to the context. Okay,
but
so
we can't remove it, sir.
Okay, you can remove it, but you need to do a statistical analysis. So for example, my suggestion is do a pretest first. Do a pretest with 30 respondents. Okay, if from the pretest it's not valid or not reliable, then you can remove it, and then you can have a lower number of respondents. But at least in the initial one, so for the pretest, you will have to collect 30 response for the first for the pretest, and then you test for the validity and reliability, and you exclude the non-valid or non-reliable items, and whatever remaining, that's your final questionnaire, and the number of sample is calculated from the final one. So if after validation you got only like 20 items, then you will need only 100 respondents. But you don't want to delete so many items because it means your items, a lot of them are not reliable. Hopefully, you may get like 25, and I think that is still feasible.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Okay, I'll move on to the other breakout room and I'll return. If you ask questions, just raise your hand and I'll return.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, sir.
Hello, group 7. Hello.
Hi.
Okay. So how's the discussion? Have you finalized the model and the questionnaire?
So last week, Arya told us to follow the questionnaire in the email. So we're gonna make it from there.
Okay. But you have finalized the model, right? Do you have the reference for the final model?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
That's fine. So as long as you finalize the model, you can work on the measurement for. You can hopefully by next week you already have the measurement for the survey. Okay, do you have question that you like to ask?
I think so, sir.
Okay. Okay, I think it's already 1 p.m. I'll close the breakout room and we'll all return to the main room. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay, guys, it's already 1 p.m. We've already returned to the classroom, and I think we've got the discussion going. I've gone through a couple of the group, and they've I think already within the good direction, in the correct direction. If you want to know the consultation, you can watch the YouTube recording. But basically, you are allowed. Okay, when you're making the questionnaire, please consider your audience. Make the questionnaire as simple as possible to be understood by the audience, so they can easily answer the question. So you don't have to use formal language. You don't have to use jargons. You can use informal language. If your respondents are, for example, Generation Z, you can use language that's appropriate to Generation Z. But if your respondents are more broad, then you need to use language that can be understood across the generations. So you have to be aware of your respondent. I think that is all from me. It's already 1 p.m. Past 1 p.m. Thank you very much for today's discussion and participation. Hopefully next week it will continue to be as lively as today. For next week, the presenter will be group 8. Group 8. Group 8.
Yes, sir.
Okay, for next week, as usual, please submit the video recording to me by Monday, so I can upload it, and your classmate can watch the video recording before the Zoom session. And also for next week, please, for each group, prepare one question for the presenter, and then we can make a discussion on and Q&A before we go to the material. Okay. Is there any other question that you want to ask me before I close the session?
No.
Okay, if there's no question, thank you very much. See you on next week in the same time, in the same Zoom link. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day.